Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. Apple recently issued a statement that it will use Chinese chips in future products, indicating that it will not give up competition in the Chinese market. Due to the rapid development of China's domestic chips, U.S. chip sanctions have gradually become ineffective, and Apple has chosen to bow to China. This move aroused the alarm of the U.S. Congress and issued relevant warnings. This decision shows the fierce competition in the chip war between China and the United States. Apple's decision was not an impulsive decision, but a strategic choice made after careful consideration and weighing the pros and cons. Although the U.S. Congress expressed dissatisfaction with this decision and issued a warning to Apple, Apple is determined to stick to its strategy. After all, the Chinese market has huge business opportunities and potential for Apple. If it abandons the Chinese market, it will have a non-negligible impact on its overall revenue. In addition, Apple also needs to repay Chinese consumers for their support and loyalty to its products, and cannot blindly treat the Chinese market with a high profile. The impact of the rise of Chinese chips on the United States. The rise of China's domestically produced chips has given Apple confidence and challenged the US's chip hegemony. For many years, the United States has been trying to curb China's development in the chip field. However, with the vigorous development of China's chip technology, the United States sanctions strategy has become increasingly ineffective. At present, China has completed the localization process of 70% of mid to low-end chips, and Huawei's Kirin 9000S has become an important milestone in the development of China's high-end chips. The price and performance advantages of China's domestic chips make it the first choice of major mobile phone manufacturers, which also gives Apple the motivation to use Chinese chips. Apple's choice to use Chinese chips is not only out of commercial interests, but also in response to the U.S. chip sanctions policy. The sanctions imposed by the United States on Huawei and other Chinese technology companies have caused great trouble to China's chip industry. However, China has not backed down. On the contrary, it has increased its research and development and investment in chip technology. The rise of Huawei's mobile phones has, to a certain extent, undermined Apple's arrogance in the Chinese market and forced Apple to make changes. By choosing Chinese chip suppliers, Apple can circumvent U.S. sanctions and continue to compete in the Chinese market. Apple's relationship and impact on the Chinese market. Apple has always attached great importance to the Chinese market, and its sales revenue in China accounts for a large proportion of its overall revenue. Although the U.S. Congress expressed dissatisfaction with Apple's use of Chinese chips, Apple had to make adjustments and compromises. Apple chose to use Yangtze memory as its flash memory supplier, further increasing the share of Chinese chips in Apple products. Yangtze storage not only has excellent technical strength, but also has reasonable prices and stable supply. Apple's choice of Yangtze memory means that the effect of U.S. sanctions on Chinese chips is gradually weakening, which has caused concern and anger in the U.S. Congress. Chinese mobile phone brands represented by Huawei are increasingly competitive in the Chinese market, posing a huge challenge to Apple's market share. In response to the sudden emergence of Huawei's Mate 60 series of mobile phones, Apple's popularity of new products has been directly suppressed, which has affected Apple's presence in the Chinese market to a certain extent. In order to remain competitive, Apple decided to use Chinese chips to offset the impact of the rise of Chinese mobile phone brands on its market share. However, Apple's bow is not due to strategic failure caused by the rise of Chinese chips, but out of considerations of its own interests and market demand. The Chinese market is crucial to Apple. Losing this huge market in China will have a non-negligible impact on its overall revenue. Apple's decision also reflects its respect and care for Chinese consumers, and it no longer blindly faces the Chinese market with a high profile. Warning and counterattack from the U.S. Congress. The U.S. Congress expressed dissatisfaction with Apple's decision to use Chinese chips and issued a warning. Congress pointed out that Apple's use of Chinese chips will harm the interests of the United States, because it will promote the transfer of Chinese technology and knowledge in related technology fields. The U.S. Intelligence Committee even angrily criticized Apple's decision and stated that it would implement strict investigation measures against Apple. Apple's decision has attracted great attention from the U.S. Congress, who believe it is a victory for China in global technology competition and a threat to U.S. chip hegemony. In this chip war between China and the United States, Apple, as a representative of global technology giants, plays an important role. Apple's decision is directly related to technology stocks in the U.S. financial system. Once Apple undergoes drastic changes, it will cause fatal harm to the entire U.S. financial system. Therefore, the U.S. Congress has been trying to contain Apple and launched sanctions and suppression on China's chip industry, hoping to curb China's rapid development in the chip field and maintain the U.S.'s chip hegemony. However, China's chip industry has achieved rapid development in recent years, and the performance and quality of China's domestic chips have gradually caught up with foreign counterparts. Huawei's Kirin 9000S chip, as a domestic high-end chip, has become a major testimony to China's chip technology strength. Apple's decision to use Chinese chips is not only an affirmation of the development of China's chip industry, but also to maintain competitiveness in the Chinese market. Overall, in the context of the chip war between China and the United States, Apple has made the decision to use Chinese chips in the Chinese market. Despite the pressure and warnings from the U.S. Congress, Apple stated that it will continue to adhere to its strategy and continue to cooperate with Chinese chips. Supplier cooperation. This decision not only demonstrates the fierce competition in the chip war between China and the United States, but also reflects Apple's emphasis on the Chinese market and respect for Chinese consumers.